All right, so today, finally going to get started on honing. Like I said before, these cylinders, well, not all of them, but some of them are pretty rusted. And the goal here is to not only get rid of the rust, but to also get rid of some of the, basically to break the glaze, see if we can get some sort of a nice finish back on these cylinders. That should aid in compression, lubrication, and basically just give the rings a better surface to seat against while still holding a little bit of oil for lubrication purposes. So let's see how this goes. I've never done this before, so fingers crossed. A little bit of WD-40 for lube, and fire away, see what happens. This is the worst cylinder, so I'm going to start here. Get some light. All right, let's see what happens. Lube's already running out. See if I can bring you in a little closer here. See what's actually going on down inside. When you remove the hone, you want to make sure that that you compress the stones. And the idea there is that you don't want to leave these outward and pull them up. You'll leave some, I guess that would be vertical scores in there if you just pull them straight out. Now, I've never done this before, so I'm curious to see how far I need to go, how long I need to have this running in here. So, do a quick clean out. I'm already seeing a massive improvement. Let's see if I can get closer. I got too many cords going on here. So all of this right up top here is pitting from the rust. And the rest of the cylinder, at least in my opinion, looks pretty decent. We'll give it a few more passes. Well, that looks pretty good. Again, there's still a lot of pitting up at the top, but with some more honing, I think some of that will come out. Get closer in here. What we're looking for is ever so slight scoring. I think that'll come across in the camera down at the bottom, towards the bottom of the cylinder. The top is what I'm really looking to fix, all of this dark staining and pitting. So I'll keep at it. We'll see if I can get rid of any of that. I'm not sure all of it'll come out. I mean, I can feel a difference with my finger now between the rest of the cylinder and up here. So I think it's definitely pitted versus just stained. But we'll see. Keep at it. See how it goes. The pits are almost completely gone. Bring you in for a closer look. There was pitting right in this area here. Still some staining, maybe some slight pitting. But I'm pretty happy with where it is right now. Still some pitting up here. And this bit of a gouge. It's not from the hone. Just about every cylinder is like that. I think it's more of a ridge. This is about where the piston rings would stop. When the piston's at top dead center. So I have a feeling it's more of a wear mark. The building up of a ridge here, maybe, not sure, but every cylinder's been like that so far. Just move the light over a little, and where are we at? 2.4 cylinder 6. This is where we're starting. Let's see how it goes. Not too much of a ridge in this one compared to the others. Again, compared to what we started with, this is a lot better. Close up cam. Anyway, I'll leave this for now. Call that good enough. On to number 8. A lot of pitting in here. Really, really rough up top here. See if we get some light in there. Yeah, right in this area right here is really rough. Well, let's see what we can do. By the way, the WD-40 with the big blast nozzle, this big boy, much better than the much better than this one. Get a much bigger spray pattern. Actually, that feels pretty good. That might have been more surface rust than pitting. The back side here. Actually, that came pretty clean. Much better than I expected. Yeah, I thought there was a lot of pitting back here, and there is some, but it's nowhere near as deep as what I thought it was. So I think what I was feeling was actual surface rust. That's a lot better than I expected. Again, the same ridge as the rest of the cylinders, although this one doesn't feel anywhere near as bad as the others. And these vertical scratches, it's probably from me hammering the piston out. A few of them in here. That piston was really stuck in here. Again, from all the rust. You know, I think I'll give this a couple more passes, and I think it can really clean this one up. That is substantially better. Almost all the pitting and rust up here is gone. It's very, very fine pitting. I don't know if it'll even show on the camera. It's more visible than it is. Yeah, I can't really feel it. This side, it's almost completely gone as well. I'm happy with that. Again, there's still a little bit of a, I don't know, a groove, I guess. Very, very slight. I don't know that I'm worried about it. This one still looks ugly. Let's give it a few more passes. Now, if you had your block machined or cleaned at a machine shop, you obviously wouldn't have to do any of this, but my local machine shop wanted $700 just to clean and hone the cylinders, and I didn't think this motor was worth it, so I'll just spend the time to do it myself and just put that $700 towards the rebuild kit that I bought. I've got new pistons coming, rings, bearings, gaskets, bought a new Edelbrock manifold, used Edelbrock carburetor, a rebuild kit for it. So, all said and done, I have about $800 worth of parts. So, I didn't see any point in spending that kind of money just to have it cleaned and honed. That would have doubled the cost of the motor. And again, this motor is just temporary, so I can't justify spending that kind of money on something that's going to get replaced anyway. The less I spend on this, the better my odds are of selling it and recovering the cost. Or at least a larger percentage of the cost. And since this motor came with the car, it didn't cost me anything but my time to take it out and strip it down. So, this is what's going on behind the camera. Little shop monster. Right, Chevy? You shop monster? Huh? What's on your head? Come here. Come here. What's on your head? What's on your head? Walk. You don't want that. You really don't. Nope. Stinky. Forgot to clean the top here where the intake manifold sits. Looks like somebody took a hammer and a punch to the top here. I don't know if that'll show up on camera. I don't know what that's about. If anybody knows, leave a comment. I'm guessing this is an attempt to create some sort of a roughed up surface for RTV. I don't know, just a guess. Somebody's obviously been here before. Now, I think I'm done. I'm pretty happy with where it is right now. Cylinders, again, are not ideal, but some of these cylinders, you couldn't even move a piston through. So, for instance, grab a clean piston. Where did it go? This one? Yeah. So for instance, this didn't even work in some of the cylinders. They were just so encrusted with rust. We now actually have a little bit of a gap in the bore after the cylinder's in. I mean, after the piston's in. And the worst offender, of course, was back here. Cylinder 7. It was completely rusted. So now pistons move effortlessly through the bore. So I'm happy with that for now. Oops. So the block is a lot cleaner than it was. All the gasket mating surfaces pretty clean. Roll her over. You know, look, this isn't a machine finish, but for my needs, I think it's good enough. Maybe even better. There's still a lot of rust inside the water jacket. I gave the block a final hone. I got pretty decent cross hatching in some of these cylinders. Back one's okay. See, that was the odd side, so here's the even side. Some of these turned out even better. So this has a final clean. What else? I power washed. If I can get down inside there. So I power washed the water jacket. Gave it what I'm calling a final clean. Still had a lot of junk coming out. I think I'm okay to run with this the way it is now. Far from perfect, but it's a lot better than it was. So here's a tip I picked up watching Derek on Vice Grip Garage. He has a 3-part series on building a budget small block. In that series, he talked about how to polish your crank journals at home. And given the situation of this motor, meaning it really isn't worth anything to me, I figured the best I could do, instead of wasting money on professional machining, is to give Derek's home method a try. And as I stated before, I've got a few spots in the crank where I accidentally, here's another one, accidentally pounded the crank into connecting rod bolts. So what I want to do is just polish off the high spots that could cause damage to the bearings. I'm not so worried about the low spots being left behind. There's no way I could get rid of them in the house. I mean, that would take professional machining. And then the journals would be smaller, or they would have to fill them up with weld, grind it down. Anyway, point is, I'm not putting money into this crank. It's not worth it. I think I'm the one that screwed it up. And I think I can live with it. Again, as long as I get rid of the high spots. So I already used this method on this journal, and I can no longer feel a high spot on it. And my very unscientific method of verifying that is to take one of these, oh, I forget what you call them. Anyway, take a rag that's got a lot of fuzz on it and run it over the area in question. If it grabs, or if you feel it grabbing, there's still high spots. I don't feel anything grabbing. So I think I got the high spots off here. So I'll show you what's involved. And again, this isn't something I came up with. So check out Vice Grip Garage. That's where I got it. So you take 400 grit sandpaper, wet dry. It's got to be wet dry because you want to lubricate it well. I found that the 3M, these narrow sheets, if you just rip them in half, they're the perfect width to fit on the rod journals. So let me position my crank. Got a little bit of a high spot on this one. Position my crank right. I can get this in here. Yeah, I can feel some high spots on that one too. So the idea is 400 grit wet dry, some kind of lube, just using WD-40. Wet it down. Try not to get it everywhere. Place it on the journal. Try to get it on there evenly. And just take a shoelace, wrap it around a few times. And I believe the idea here is to keep it flat against the paper. Get all this residual oil off my hands. And just go to town polishing back and forth. It takes a few seconds to get into a groove, figuratively speaking. But once you get your motion down, it's just a matter of going back and forth. Now, I don't know if you can hear that, but it sounds rather gritty. As I go, that noise will get lighter and lighter, which should indicate that it's gotten smoother. The journals have gotten smoother. And this is just the rough, I don't want to say grinding, but it is more abrasive than the polish that we will follow up with. So this will leave some very slight scratches along the circumference. But I'll polish that out once I'm done getting rid of the high spots. Now I can both hear and feel already that I'm feeling less resistance, and that grinding noise isn't as loud as it was when I started. So I'm trying to keep the shoestring from staying in one spot. I'm trying to keep it distributed across the sandpaper to try to prevent wearing a groove into the journal. And again, this isn't something you could do for, you know, a race motor or maybe your daily driver. Again, you got to remember my purpose here is this motor just needs to move my vehicle in and out of the garage a few times for the next several months. And, you know, maybe around the block several times as I'm trying to work on the suspension and get a feel for it. This is the motor that it came with, so I don't see any reason for going out and buying a new motor that's in better shape and, you know, whatever, when I've already got this one. So, and when I'm finished with everything, I may end up trying to sell the motor and purchasing an LS. I'm not sure yet, but getting this motor into good running condition buys me time to figure that out. So it's a little tedious, but you know, it should get rid of the little high spots that I have. And I can't imagine I'm going to wear down 1/1000th or more of an inch. So I think this is just fine just for prepping the surface of the journal. Let's see what we got. Not yet. I can still feel some high spots in there, so give it another go. A little more lube. Give it another go. I'm not putting much tension on this shoestring, just enough to kind of rotate the paper. Put a little bit of force on there, but not much. Take a look. Much better. So I can feel a little bit, ever so slight. And I'm not sure if I'm feeling high spots or low spots. I don't feel the rag grabbing anymore. So maybe those are just low spots. Feel a little bit of a high spot maybe towards the bottom. So I'll give it another go. See where we are. Actually, that's a huge improvement. I don't feel the rag snagging at all now. Yeah, I can feel a big difference. And just to show how little bit just to show how little bit of metal this removes. You can see that there's still staining left in the journal here. So obviously it's not removing much metal at all. Probably more of like a polish, I guess you could say. Again, I think just really getting rid of the high spots. Seems like a little scratch right here. Alright, so on to the next. This one's not too bad. This one's pretty bad. I can feel it. I figured it's on the underside. Yeah, this one's pretty bad. I'll hit this one next. See how it goes. Alright, so I've got my journals polished. Well, ground, I guess you could say. So now it's time to polish. I'm just going to use Brazos metal polish. Smother some all over the journal. And let's get some more on here. That looks good. Now it's covered. And we'll do the same thing that we did with the sandpaper. This is just microfiber cloth. Cut it into a strip wide enough to cover the journal. And just polish away. Well, that didn't last long. Let's cut off some of this excess. All right, let's try this again. Yeah, that ain't working so well. It makes a big difference though. Let's try this again. Actually, this time, put some paper around it to hold it. Maybe that'll work better. Nope. Bring you in closer here to show you what I'm saying. So this was a, man, I can hardly even feel it anymore. But this is where the crank. This is where the rod bolt left a mark. Actually, more than a mark. Actually, a slight divot. But between polishing with the wet dry and oil, and then following back up with the metal polish, I mean, this is buttery smooth now. You can hardly feel it at all. It's still there. I mean, I can still put my nail in it. But it's been substantially smoothed over. It doesn't feel like there are any more high spots. And this journal just looks 10 times better than it did previously anyway. I mean, regardless of trying to get those marks out. So I still have to spray this down with some brake clean or something to get rid of all the residual polish. And clean out the oil holes. But so far so good. This is really making a big difference. I should be able to salvage this crank. Alright, so here's as far as I'm going with the polishing. I think it turned out pretty good. I didn't polish the mains because they seem fine, or good enough. Just the rod joints. And I think they turned out pretty damn good. Of course, you can still see where, yeah, right here, the blemishes from where I smashed the rod bolts into the journals. Another small nick right here. And this one was the worst. Rotate this up. So this one was the worst. And although it's still plainly visible, you can hardly feel anything there. Slight divot, but I think it'll be okay. Same down here. No longer high spots. Just divots. So we'll see, because that's the way it's staying.